Test, test. How guys working? It's working on Discord, the same mic. Oh, for sure.
What the fuck? Oh.
You don't have to be logged in, of course. You can just add whatever. Switch through your channel. What was that photo? All right, whatever.
Can they hear you?
Yeah, OBS is picking up. That's good. Because OBS is picking up. But now, can you check Discord? Can you check Discord? Is the microphone already being used by Discord?
I think so.
Not the worky. It's the
Yeah, it's working. No, it's not.
because that's the camera. We're trying to get it from here.
The wireless microphone.
Can you do audio check in the here? I'm gonna talk.
Ew.
I'm gonna talk.
Muted, by the way.
No. Look.
Sorry, I just opened.
Wait, hold on. Shh. Test. 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 That was good. Test 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna talk really loud. Can you hear me? Hello. Wait, but maybe it's the laptop. Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me still? Can you hear me? Is it good? It's good. All right, we're good. All right then. All right, so then we can start. Test 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna talk really loud. Can you hear me? Hello. You can feel free to just hold the lab. It's up to you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? The live stream. Can you hear me still? Can you hear me?
Just like this?
Is it good? It's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Like how you see people on TikTok do these things.
Those people are just like, this is why CS majors are cooked.
Exactly. That's the most relatable.
It's like that's every like real intro. Okay, we should.
Yeah. So of course you can reference that. At least up there.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's get started.
This is why CS majors are
What's up?
cooked.
That's the most relatable. If you want, it's on our YouTube channel, on the Discord, or our website.
I'll go on this side.
It's also on Discord. Yeah.
I'm gonna go on this side because I'm gonna dip in a bit.
Hey, with the camera, make sure to zoom in sometimes. It's up to you. Be creative with it. All right. Yeah, we'll start in 1 minute.
I'm gonna go on this side because I'm gonna dip in a bit.
With the camera, make sure to zoom in sometimes. It's up to you. Be creative with it. All right. Yeah, so we can introduce ourselves first. So essentially, there's back. How do I go back?
Should we pause the music?
That's a good point.
Sorry.
All right, that seems loud, so that's up to me. Um,
I can start.
you want to start? Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Nice to meet you. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Hiba. I'm currently founder and president of Gross Who Code and also vice president of Computer Science Club.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lance Ruiz. I'm the chapter president of the Google Developer Groups on campus Skyline College chapter. I'm also one of the collaborators for this event, and I'm really glad you guys are here. We have some other people from the other clubs, of course, that we're actually about to get to, but I just like to say welcome. Hello, everyone. My name is Lance Ruiz. I'm the so essentially, welcome explorers. Now, for this slide deck, you're able to actually scan the QR code, so you can follow along on your phone. Just in case maybe you miss one of the slides or you need to reference some information, so feel free to scan this QR code right now. This slide deck is also available on Discord, so if you prefer to go on Discord to get this slide deck, then it'll be available on our Google Developer Groups on campus Discord.
There's lots of great resources, so I definitely recommend taking a photo or having it saved for later if needed.
This slide deck is also available on Discord. So if you prefer to go on Discord to get this slide deck,
Is everyone good to
it should
go?
be
Thumbs
available
up.
on our Google Developer Groups on
All
Campus
right, thank
Discord.
you. There's lots of great resources, so I definitely recommend taking a photo.
So here is our agenda today. Nothing too much. We'll be introducing what this hackathon's about. We'll be explaining the timeline of events. We'll of course be
Everyone
revealing
good
our
to go?
tracks,
Thumbs up.
our resources, and of course,
All
by
right,
the end
thank
of
you.
this entire event, we'll be doing some workshops. We do recommend having your laptop out for after specifically the workshop section or when that actually starts. We're going to do interactive in-person workshops where you're actually going to be able to get help and also be able to learn alongside perhaps your team or just going solo in the meantime. We do recommend having so yeah, let's get started. For after specifically the workshop section or when that actually starts. We're going to do so of course, as a collaboration between CSM and also Skyline College, we have clubs from both campuses coming together for this event. Last year, it was just us when we were just the Computer Science Club, and also just the Computer Science Club at CSM. Of course, now it's grown. It's the second iteration. So as time goes on, this event will become better, greater, and hopefully become the biggest in the world. But in the meantime, this is just our second hackathon. So we have new routes into the hackathon scene. So at any time, if you guys needed more information or perhaps just needed, clarification on any resources we may have missed or any, errors, then feel free to reach out at our email. That email should be available through the emails you've been getting recently. Um, Here are the clubs that are collaborating on this hackathon event. Of course, we have Girls Who Code. If you have anything to say about Girls Who Code or what they do, um,
We're Girls Who Code, and then also AI Club, who I'm social media manager for, and then also Computer Science Club for our College of San Mateo. We collaborate a lot of exciting events. Girls Who Code will actually be hosting one of the workshops we'll get into a bit later next Wednesday, and we'll announce more on that in a bit.
for sure. And of course, here at Skyline College, we have two organizations. We have the Google Developer Groups on Campus chapter here, and also the Data Science Club. Now, if you're at Skyline College, or even if you're not, but you do visit sometimes, we're actually opening elections for both of these clubs very, very soon. And of course, we need this support for next year's generation of leaders. So if you have been interested in maybe even leading a hackathon like this, for example, or doing events, or just need experience in general and what it's like being an officer or just a leader, to stand out from the crowd, then these opportunities are coming up very shortly on our discords. Um, Hopefully, some point, Kenyatta College can start the AI club, and also their computer science club. But only time will tell. But appreciate everyone from Kenyatta who are visiting.
All right, the Explorer timeline. So
Hopefully, some point, Kenyatta College can start the AI club, and also their computer science club. But only time will tell. But appreciate everyone from Kenyatta who are visiting.
what workshops we're offering for each track, access to certain things such as a cloud access, API
Club and also their computer science club. But only time will tell. But appreciate everyone from Kenyatta who are.
we are lifting off.
Yeah. So right now you're at the opening ceremony, but of course after this will be the exploration period, or of course the hacking period. Of course, this also starts tonight. Starts today, April 18th, and also ends next Friday, April the 25th. So in exactly almost a week's time, you'll be not here, but actually at College San Mateo for the closing ceremony. But between now and then, it's entirely asynchronous, which means at any time, any place, you guys can come together with your team, maybe at a friend's house, maybe at your local college campus, maybe at the library. It's up to you guys to determine when you guys should work on your project. With this being a week long, we don't actually intend you guys to be working throughout the entire week, unless you're doing it like in small increments. But of course, I'd probably max it out to like a couple days within that week to really work on your project. This week long span is meant to make it very flexible no matter your schedule, and it's very different unlike many other hackathons where they're in person. You got to be there from start to finish, and maybe you're sleep deprived. This one is a little bit more beginner friendly.
All right, so continuation of the hacking period. So we're going to be hosting both in-person and virtual workshops. So no matter what, each workshop we have or host will be accessible online somehow. And they'll be hosted by many different organizations and clubs. I know Skyline Computer Science Club is hosting workshops, Data Science Club, and then also Girls Who Code and Computer Science Club at College of San Mateo are also going to be hosting one as well. And we're going to provide the online team support and mentoring through Discord. If you're not already in the Skyline Computer Science Discord, there's a channel for the hackathon as well. And so the workshops that we're going to be hosting is going to be Intro to Web Development, which Girls Who Code and CSM Computer Science Club is going to be hosting next Wednesday. And then Intro to APIs in Google Cloud. I believe that's going to be Skyline Computer Science Club. Same with Intro to P5 Play. And then Intro to Godot Engine is going to be data science or
I think it's being hosted by one of my fellow
okay,
officers.
nice.
So yeah, so actually, two of these workshops potentially, but especially the P5 Play workshop will actually be hosted here in person after this opening ceremony. But yes, all these workshops, you may get more emails about this throughout the events, but also eventually starting tomorrow, these events will also be on the HackerBook and also on our website, and of course on the respective discords. By the way, if any of you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to ask on the Discord. Specifically the one that's on this slide or any of the Discords on any of our collaborating club Discord communities. Now, closing day, very important day actually. This is of course a week from now. Projects must be submitted by 10 a.m. in the morning. Essentially, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., that's when the judges are online, fleet of them. They'll be tuning in from all over the country to have their time being spent looking at your guys' projects. Now, of course, they actually know that you guys are beginners, so don't fret on making the best perfect projects. We're not expecting, you know, the next best thing, the next innovation, the next revolutionary project. So don't worry about submitting even a completed project. Even if your project's not completed, just submit whatever you have, essentially. Closing day features stuff like in-person demoing. So this is specifically for one of our tracks, which we'll mention later. There'll be more food. There'll be some more fun activities, and of course, we may be presenting some prizes. Now, prizes will be announced at a later date, but they will be announced within the next week. So yeah, and of course, again, closing day will be hosted in person at College San Mateo. I don't know if you guys had a location specifically.
I believe
Perhaps.
that's going to be in Building 36, Room 109. However, we're going to also confirm that at the beginning of the week with everyone. All right.
For sure.
Okay, now into the tracks. Drum roll, please. Okay, thank you. So there's going to be a game development track, and I'm going to give this over to Lance to talk more about it.
What a surprise. But actually, we're bringing this track back, and maybe actually for the entire history of this hackathon's future, we may actually just introduce this very fun, but also very creative, and even, depending on how you do it, very beginner friendly track. Let's just slide into it real quick, quite literally. Um, so, why this track to be chosen by you? Of course, these tracks, you guys can choose which one with your team. But why the video game track? Of course, video games, everyone here has played one, hopefully. Everyone knows what they should be, what makes a game fun, but many people have ideas for what their game, their dream game or their favorite mechanics from certain games. Um, and of course, video games in general are one of, if not the greatest mediums of creativity, even outside of arts, because all the types of art can be integrated into games. Of course, they're interactive, which makes another plane of and like interacting with said art. And of course, all these ideas you've already played many games, presumably. So this is definitely something that should be relatable to all of you. The video game industry itself is the biggest industry, I believe, for entertainment. It's bigger than, as you can see, the film entertainment, so all those Marvel movies, all those Disney movies, that's and all the music, all these artists, all these labels get into. Combining those, the video game industry is still surmount even those two industries combined. Several games that you may have heard of, which include Lethal Company, Stardew Valley, Undertale, Minecraft. These games were actually started by just one solo developer with an idea. They weren't the best developers. Actually, asked Undertale's developer how he made his game. Maybe you don't learn from him, but actually learn from him in terms of creativity. But some of the ways you can actually apply your skills, not just computer science, because of course computer science is the main thing, but it's also the very creative aspect, which is including art design, game design, which to some people wasn't clarified or isn't really understood, but that's exactly what makes a game fun. And also then audio design. Of course, there's many other design philosophies like user interface, user experience, but specifically to further your career and also be able to apply some skills you learn in class. As you can see, you can implement data structures, chance to learn some new algorithms like pathfinding, object-oriented programming, depending on what language you use. And also for game development specifically, object-oriented programming is really, really, really popular for games like Minecraft and Undertale and Stardew Valley and maybe even Lethal Company. If not, they use entity component systems and of course server client paradigms where you actually have a network of computers, not just your own, which may be a cool thing for you. Now, this year's theme, I guess another drum roll for this. This year's theme is time tethered. Now, this may be vague, but this is entirely up to your own interpretation of what this theme means to you. This gets a lot of points if you really implement your theme in a very creative way. Um, and yeah, essentially, your game can be anything, but try to make it themed akin to this. Make it very understandable. And finally, because this is sort of our beginner track, we do have tips, not for the other tracks, unfortunately. But for this one specifically, we do have these four main tips from people who have done game jams before. For complete beginners like you guys, if you are a complete beginner, we don't actually recommend using a game engine. What you should be using instead, perhaps, is P5 Play, which is actually a workshop we'll be hosting soon, or Pygame using Python. Engines can definitely overcomplicate making a game, especially for a hackathon. You don't want to learn how to use a whole engine then to learn how to make a whole new game. These games should be very small scale. Don't try to make the biggest like RPG. RPGs are crazy. Maybe make something smaller scaled. Uh, and for the third one, when it comes to design, art design, consider as an example 8-bit art design, kind of like what's in the background. If you do this, for example, it makes the pressure of making really good art and making it maintained throughout your game. It makes that go all the way to make you more focused on the more important things, which is coding and also making your game fun. And if you need ideas, especially for 8-bit, because there's a lot of free assets for that, check out this URL. Itch.io has lots and lots of free assets. And actually, if you look on their website right now, maybe you can get ideas of what kind of game you want to make. And yeah, that was the game development track.
Okay, hold some of your applause because we're not over yet. So moving on to our next track. Um, this is going to be the data science track, and I'm going to hand this over to Amal from Data Science Club.
Hello, my name is Samapola, the president of the Data Science Club here on Skyline College.
Okay, hold some of
And
your
so for
applause
this
because
track,
we're
we're
not
going to be
over yet.
doing
So moving on to our next
continue to
track.
involve in promising and demanding
This
careers.
is
I
going to
think
be the data
that we're
science
going to
track, and
find
I'm
like
going to
more
hand
of
this
an
over to Amal
interdisciplinary
from Data
approach when
Science
it comes
Club.
to this track. What
Hello,
what we
my name
want,
is
at least for the
Amal
data
here
science
from
club in
Skyline
general,
College.
is to make it interdisciplinary as possible. So even if you're in the biology of business, the approach is that anybody can learn data science and it can be used in multiple fields. Um, yeah, let me see. So the data science can be used in general consumer conscious way. Yes.
Yeah, so in this case, For many of you guys, data science is actually in action in many of the things you interface with. I have some examples up here that I've collected from other actual data scientists who work in the data science field. Some stuff they do include um, video game microtransactions, of course. Games make a lot of money. I just explained that are one of the biggest industries, but making sure consumers have good stuff that they actually want and looking into the details for that. Stuff like customer loyalty programs, maybe for auto design, maybe seeing injury data to make cars safer, and also intuitiveness when it comes to stuff like user experience and also user interface. These are all things that make products better, and this is where data science definitely applies right in front of you guys.
A more interdisciplinary approach too. Data science can be used on almost anything. So, for example, business they tend to use it for the analytical when they're looking into consumer approach. Or uh, I met a professor at Berkeley where she was a librarian, but she used data science to kind of look up uh, different ways to approach a problem. For example, memor the memor like the monic tones inside the ocean, and pinpointing where the I think it was like dolphins, and so they use data science in an approach to make it more accessible and much easier to kind of follow through versus just writing each and every one of the things by themselves.
Yeah, so actually here we're introducing the first data sets. Maybe you guys are kind of excited for this one. Depends if you're doing data science. We have a League of Legends buffing and nerfing data set. Now, again, directly impacts maybe a game you play, but data science can be analyzed and applied through this way. But we also have more tracks, so you can go through them. The next track is the National Women's Soccer League team statistics. This is a more general track, definitely great for if you're interested in sports, but actually, women's sports in particular, they're doing many things to make it, you know, uh, more widespread, but also to see how we can accommodate women's sports in a greater way. So, if you wanted to kind of look into this details and statistics about that, stuff that's actively being looked into even today, then feel free to do this track.
And lastly, for the data science track, you can do the most streamed Spotify songs of 2024. And in this case, you can kind of have a little bit of imagination on what you can do. You can look at the most streamed artist versus like the title or the album. Um, I think this is pretty cool. I think it's much more recent, and especially if you are a user who enjoys music and want to see which genre is the highest played, that'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah, maybe you can hear or research what they're listening to right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a very relatable track.
All right, everyone. Okay, so this is going to be the last track. This one I was really excited to introduce, not only because we've never done something similar to this before, but because this track gives you a lot of freedom. So introducing, just a second. Is there slides for it?
Yep, that's good.
Okay. Oh, the improving the SMCCD track. So I don't know if all of you know, I'm currently a student assistant on the web services team for the district. And why I propose this track is because not only my entire role revolves around improving SMCCD, but you as students and us as students do the best job in doing so because we provide that insider curiosity and ideas. So the SMCD, improving SMCD track is mainly composed of applications. So for instance, it could be like web dev or something like an application or some sort of script that benefits students in any aspect. So it gives you a lot of freedom. And I would say I really want to encourage everyone to be as creative as possible with this track and maybe find that niche issue you're trying to solve or a very overarching issue you're trying to solve as well. So it can be really small or really, really big on how many people it's impacting. You can focus on one community college or you can focus on the entire district. All right. So moving on to the resources, and before we do that, we do have the workshop. Just going to reiterate that on Intro to Web Dev next Wednesday, 11:30 to 12:30 at College of San Mateo. Building 14, room 205. And for that workshop, we're going to go over HTML, CSS, and JavaScript basics on web development. That's what I recommend for beginners. However, if you have some web development experience, I definitely recommend trying something like React or something similar on that end. Or it could be something similar to like a catalog website, which I'll introduce in that workshop as well. Okay, resources. Okay.
Yes, so I'm gonna be presenting this one specifically because one of our collaborating organizations is, of course, a Google Developer Groups affiliated club. We actually are being given free API access to Google Cloud straight from Google. This link will expire. Well, actually, it's like a month from now, so no worries on that. But if you scan this QR code, you should be able to sign up to the Google Cloud without credit card or anything needed. Usually need a credit card and also usually need to pay a little bit to use some APIs or even most depending on what kind of account you get. But specifically for this hackathon, Google will not charge you anything for using their API access. This will only last, I believe, for 3 weeks. So, it doesn't really matter when you apply to this specific link. Please confirm if it does work. I see some people scanning. Now, essentially, why to integrate Google Cloud? Like many cloud services, like Azure Cloud, also Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud is, of course, Google's own implementation. So many things like Google Maps, Google's own Google Search, Gemini, lots of data like stuff from Google Search, even stuff like Wikipedia search, locational based data. Um, the list goes on. Even having servers running computational processes on their own machines. They have a variety and also a very versatile amount of things that any application could want, whether it's a database, whether it's integrating one of their services. So think of any of the Google services you may use day to day that you want to also integrate into your app. And essentially, it's easy if using Google Cloud. Definitely compared to Amazon Web Services, which is more, way more enterprise level, and Azure Cloud, which is, I believe, uh, more premium for many features. So Google Cloud is very, we're very thankful for Google Cloud to provide us some access for this event.
All right. Is everyone good with taking a photo of that? Thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. All right. Oops. Next would be Typecast. So Typecast is a text-to-speech API. One of our judges from industry for the SMCCD track actually is a product manager there. And so what they're willing to do is give us access up to 10,000 plus characters for the specific hackathon. If you guys are interested in using that, please contact me and I can get you guys that access. So please feel free to use up all these resources as much as possible. And of course, we'll send a ton of resources in the Discord continuously, whether it's tutorials, like W3 schools, etc. Bunch of resources will be sent out. Feel free to reach out whenever. Okay.
For sure. Now, at this point, this almost or pretty much concludes this opening ceremony. This opening ceremony is mostly for information. For this next segment, we'll of course be going over workshops. But before we actually get started with that, now that you know the tracks, now that you know some resources, now that you have some context, you guys can talk with your team or maybe build more teams together within the next, let's say, 15 minutes. Um, so I'm gonna be hosting some workshops, specifically the P5 Play workshop. You don't have to log into any of these tracks necessarily, but maybe through my workshop, for example, you guys can decide on which one you'd like to do. But yeah, thank you guys, and welcome to the second intercollegiate hackathon.
So good. Are you nervous? Also, your lollipop is too. Do you want to throw it away, or you want that lollipop still?
This is full of paper, which is fine.
I know.
We have some buffer, but why?
I'm asking. Like, are they? Do we like have breakout rooms for them?
We have this room.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be back to back.
Okay.
We're crazy. This room splits in half. It's that's gonna be your workshop, but that's gonna be not now. Unless you want to do it. Well, it's up to you.
How many
The
workshops
thing
are
is, we're
gonna
technically
happen?
not to host that workshop because we already have video of it. Is your workshop good?
It's good. It's good, but I would say it won't teach them everything though. I need them for at least to have like
Are they? Is it interactive?
I have a moving character that walks around and you create an entire map.
Yeah.
That's the video I filmed.
Oh, really?
So the second video, the one I have currently on my laptop,
Okay, I want to see.
creates them a coin that they can go and grab and interact with it,
Uh,
and also a bit of GD script.
can I see?
Yeah, you can see. Regarding people who are solo, should I just try to group them up with people who are also solo?
Sure.
Or
You
should I
can
just
also
let,
ask.
or should I let
You can also invite them to be on our Discord for that.
I just like,
Yeah, they can join our Discord
and then
and then
just
talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a section for that?
Um, hackathon support or general.
Okay, I was listening to a hackathon group. Looking for group.
Yeah, I can make that channel for you real quick.
Okay. If not, yeah, we'll just do it there. If not, then if they're in person, I'll just search. I'll just try to see if I can add a group because I assume they need to be in a group or they don't need to be.
It's not mandatory now.
Um, I gotta see what. We forgot to take the photo. Were you taking photos
Of
at the
what?
start before we start presenting?
We had some photos.
Totally forgot about that.
People can take photos now. Where's my camera? You can use that. You need a smaller lens. Oh, I remember. It was meant to be awesome. I don't know what that one. People can take photos now. Where's my camera? You can use that. Oh, I remember. Thing is, I should probably just start presenting. Hey, you guys know the Zoom, right? You know how to Zoom now? Focus on my face right now. Yeah, but try focusing on my face. Yeah, I shouldn't, but it should focus. Hey, you guys know the Zoom, right? You know how to Zoom now? Hey, is it Focus on my face. Okay, you can put it back now. Is it just this one? Okay. Yeah, I shouldn't. I mean, it should look good still. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna be in this area then, alright? Hey, is it
The lens is broken.
Okay, you can put it back
The
now.
lens is broken. See it?
I don't
Because
see
it's
it.
like not
Is it just this one?
focusing.
Okay. Oh, it's because of it's not centered focus. Focus on this. Did you press that? Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna be in this area then. Yeah, no, this lens is kind of nice. Oh, here we go. Go focus in the center. There's no sound effects. Mic check. Can you hear me? Hey, Len, can you hear me on OBS? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? One, two, three. Is that good? It's good. Oh, good. All right. test. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? One, two, three. Is that good? Good. All right, everybody. We'll get started in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. All right, everybody. We'll get started in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yeah. I just realized you guys may have to provide some assistance. Um, the thing is, do you guys know? Do you remember this workshop from last year?
I remember only a tiny bit.
All right. Well, just tell them that the slides are on Discord.
Huh?
All right, get your stuff because I'm about to start. Yeah. I just realized you guys may have to provide some assistance. The thing is, do you guys know? Remember this workshop from last year? All right, everybody. We're about to get started. But in preparation for this workshop, please head to our Discord. It's let me see. All right, so if you're going to participate in this hackathon workshop, head to our Discord. This is the Google Developer Groups on Campus Discord. I'm actually going to post this to all the Discords. But you need this slide deck to do this workshop. All right, so if you're going to participate in this hackathon workshop, head to our Discord. This is the Google Developer Groups on Campus Discord. I'm actually going to post this to all the Discords. But you need this slide deck to do this workshop. Sure, if you can send a link. Are you planning to do that workshop like live or are you just? Sure, we'll see. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, essentially 5:45 is our end time. For sure. For sure. That works either way. Um, sure, please continue. All right, for sure. All right, everybody. We're about to start this workshop right now. Again, if you want to access the slides for this workshop, they'll be available on all the discords. Um, Please have these slides open because you're going to be interacting with. That works either way. Appreciate it. So my announcement for this workshop, and of course these workshops are extra. You're not expected to stay for these workshops. So appreciate if it's much appreciated that you guys are sticking for these workshops to kind of see what we have to present to you guys. But for this workshop, you guys, and also assuming you're gonna try some P5 Play, you don't have to go through this entire workshop. But if you do want to try it out, please head to Discord. All the Discords have this link to this slide deck. Please have them open because you're gonna have to be accessing some links and also interacting with some of the slides. So this is a very interactive hands-on workshop. Um, well, I'll get started in 1 minute, but please get on Discord and have the slide deck open. Perhaps just have it on the side. And of course, I'll be going through some of the slides. If you guys have any questions at any time, please let me know by raising your hand. Accessing some links and also interacting with some of the slides. So this is a very interactive hands-on workshop. Um, well, I'll get started in 1 minute, but please get on Discord and have the slide deck open. Perhaps just have it on the side. And of course, I'll be going through some of the slides. If you guys have any questions at any time, please let me know by raising your hand. What's up, man? Should be here. Oop, at the very bottom. Scroll all the way down. Yeah, that one. Can you press it? Let me see. Let me see. Can you access that? Okay, that's good. All right. So, raise your hands if you have the slide deck open. If you're planning to participate. All right. Pretty much everyone. All right. And yes, we're gonna get started now. Again, if you have any questions about this hackathon, please raise your hands. This is a very chill space. This is just learning a new thing. So imagine this is just a open-ended workshop, kind of open area. Of course, we actually have some of my officers at the back. So if you have any questions, perhaps one of them can come up to you, and then they can relay that question to me. And yes, we're gonna get started. Now, this workshop is intended for the game development track. This is if you're a total beginner and have no idea of any engines, but perhaps you wanted to learn maybe JavaScript in terms of game development. Now, of course, P5 Play. What is P5 Play? P5 Play is a JavaScript based game development library. It's essentially not as full scaled as a game engine. Game engines allow you to do way more, like create assets, animations. They have lots of built in features, like graphic engines, physics engines, and all this good stuff. But for JavaScript and also for P5 Play specifically, you create most things from scratch, which means there's less to maybe none overhead in terms of understanding how things work. Everything you make, all the features, all the mechanics, the entire way your program works is all based on code you write. Now, P5 Play is designed by teachers, even middle school and high school teachers. So essentially, they have the mindset to teach this to middle school and high schoolers and even college students, which again is which are you guys. This is very beginner friendly. It's intuitive even if you don't understand JavaScript. If you have taken C++ or Java, the syntax should be very, very familiar, if not easier. P5 Play is used at universities and also taught at many colleges throughout the world, especially in Europe, surprisingly. But it is aimed at both high school and college students. On the right is some actual games created by P5 Play. Just for example, I'll actually be showing a demo at the very end. Now, this crash course is very comprehensive. Now, you can scan this QR code to get the link to this slide deck, but I do recommend to have this out on your computer because there are some links on here that you'll be editing code off of. So, of course, you probably want to do that on your computer. So I'll leave this for like, actually, this link may be dead because it's an old one. I think in this case, you can just reference just the Discord links that we sent. This should lead you to the same place. This just sends you to the slide deck. All right, so here we go. Initializing some concepts, introducing drawing on the canvas. Now for this section, you are being provided a template. This is the part where you have to click on and start coding with. There is no downloads required. You just go do all your code in the browser. So no matter what kind of laptop, even if you have a Chromebook, you should be able to program using P5 Play. Just head to this template. Uh, Probably give me a raise of hands if you're able to access this template. All right, so a couple of you guys. All right, so I assume most people have this template open, but if you wanted to see what it looks like, it should look like this. This template's essentially how this user interface works is the left is your code editor, the right side is your preview. Now you press play and of course it will render some stuff. Here we have a demo, but of course we'll kind of go over this very shortly. Um, yeah, let me see. Let me go through some of this stuff to make sure. Yeah, so I think equivocally we'll start out with just some of the basics. But with this templates, I actually do recommend you can also just make a new templates if you actually want to start from scratch. Either way works fine. And actually later into the workshop, I'll actually be doing this live with you guys. So yes. So with this template, here are some ground rules. In computer science specifically, here's the introduction of what's the canvas. The canvas in uh, many many situations, including web development, a canvas is just a place where you can draw stuff on screen. Now, one of the rules of computer science is coordinate-based systems. Now, as you've been taught in probably middle school, the traditional coordinate system over here, um, you can see the origin is at the middle of the canvas. Now, in computer science and in many, it doesn't really matter what language, what engine you use, computers usually have their origin at the top left. This, for trivia, is because pixels draw on the screen starting from the top left, so you want to kind of reference the top left to start drawing on the canvas. The higher the x is to the right, as per usual, but you should know that the higher your y value, the lower it is, because the top left is essentially the start reference point. And going down is lower on that canvas and also on that screen. And also know this, there are no negatives to deal with. There's no negative pixels on the screen, of course. And all these pixels, again, are based on numbers, integers. Now, P5 Play games run off two main functions. You should see in your templates the setup and draw function. Um, Setup is this function up here. This runs exactly once you press the play button. So whatever is in that function, in this case, it creates a new canvas with that certain width and height. And then we set the game to update about 60 times a second. Now the draw method, you can see here, this is run 60 times per second based on this frame rate. So this, setting the frame rate to 60, that's essentially 60 times a second. And this draw function will then execute 60 times per second. Now, what does this draw function do? 60 times a second, we are drawing a white background, as you can see. We are setting our background color to orange, and then we are drawing a rectangle positioned at this coordinate value, 25, 25. And then we're setting it with a width and height of 30 pixels width and a higher height of 90 pixels. As you can see, that's what it should look like. Now, of course, drawing on a canvas is the most important part of, showing things on screen. In fact, well, obviously, most games show things on screen for you to interact with. Here are some methods you can learn to draw certain shapes. All you have to know is these are the function methods, their names, their identifiers, and then here are the parameters for a line, for ellipse, for rectangle. It's possibly these three you use the most. And then, of course, if you want to draw some text, you have this string method. But here are some examples of what those look like on the right side. Here are some methods you can learn to draw certain shapes. All you have to know is these are the function methods. Here is your first challenge. So on your templates, let me actually reference it. On your templates, you should be able to see some functions, but essentially right here, you can start creating some new stuff, specifically under, yeah, so under the draw function. We have some examples of what's being displayed on screen. This lets you see the code for itself. But from this point, we're actually going to add code under here. As you can see, you can continue adding code under here. So this is a section to add to. Now this is under the draw function, of course. And I'm going to assign you guys a challenge to kind of try this out. But essentially, it's to draw an ellipse, preferably in the middle of the canvas. Now, what this should do is cover the cat, hopefully. So you can try doing that. If you get stuck, feel free to ask your partner or team member. You can also reference the past slides. But essentially, it's to draw an ellipse, preferably in the middle of the canvas. Now, what this should do is cover the cat, hopefully. So you can try doing that. If you get stuck, feel free to ask. All right. Can I see a thumbs up if you were able to draw a circle in the middle? Is this something you guys were able to do? All right. Now, for each of these challenges, I'll actually be showing you how the solution looks like, but this is what your solution should equivocally look like. Um, Here, we're drawing a cyan circle, and how you do that is similar to the code you seen earlier in the page, but it's with this first fill function. Now, what this fill function does is it changes the drawing color. Now, as you can see, cyan is a mixture of green and blue, and if you max out those values, you can get cyan. Now, of course, drawing an ellipse, that's using that ellipse function. But the tip here is to figure out how to position it in the center. Now, at the top of your setup function, you should be able to see how big the canvas is, and then these two question marks, that's where you put in your x, y values. So you can kind of assume what those would be. The hint right there is, remember, our canvas size is 800 pixels by 600 pixels. So what values would center our circle? All right, with that challenge done, let's just try doing some interesting things with this circle. At the top of our file, we can declare a new variable using the let keyword. So you can add this anywhere at the top of your file. In this case, I'm calling it offset, but in your file, it could be called whatever you want. So where you see plus signs, that's where I'm adding additions to my code. If your code looks, if the template is too much for you, then you guys can also just make a new template from scratch by pressing File, pressing New, and then this, of course, should create a very empty canvas. It's up to you whether you want to use code that has extra example code so you can cross-reference. Entirely up to you. In our draw function, essentially, we want to create a variable, right? And it starts at 0 and initialize it at 0 when our program starts, when we press the play button. And then our draw function, of course, runs 60 times a second. Of course, we can see it's incrementing, and that means offset is being added to 60 times per second, and we're increasing it by 0.2. And then we draw our ellipse. Nice. So you should be able to preview something looking like this. Now, with the last step, we just drew the circle in a specific location. But by adding plus offset, we're able to add to this value over time. It will start and initialize at 400 pixels, which is the middle of our screen. And then by adding to that value, we can then make the circle move. Now, for this next step, this is the next challenge, is drawing some text. Now, text is actually super important, maybe even more important than drawing simple shapes and circles or whatever. Using this method right here, the text function, you should be able to draw a function at a certain location. Now, for this challenge, you can draw it wherever you want, but if you're able to, try drawing it on top of where the circle is, that one you created in challenge one. If you guys need help, be sure to raise your hands because we got some people in the back who can help. All right, so to reveal the solution to this challenge, essentially, one, we want to make the text black, so we use fill. And in this case, instead of the last time, you can actually just use a string and use the word black to make it fill with a black stroke color. And then it's easy to add some text. Here we have hello, and then we position the XY value. Now, again, as I say, these two last arguments are optional. You don't need them. Just to keep it simple, you can just put hello, and then you should kind of have something that looks like that. Now, again, question marks, those are for you to fill out, but just experiment with those values. And of course, if you know where the circle is, you should be able to determine where that positioning should be to place the text on top of this circle. Oh, and by the way, we have some extra code here you can add at any time. Uh, if you want to change the text size, for example, we have this function and then text align. Now for these, you have to put these before text because code runs linearly from top to bottom. It doesn't skip over, it doesn't run all at the same time. It runs one after the other. All right, so enough of that stuff. Of course, there's many ways to draw, but actually, there's a humongous list of ways to draw geometry in P5 Play. Specifically, you can even 3D render some stuff, which is very experimental. I've seen some teams from last year do this, and it was kind of crazy. But if you want to keep it simple, definitely just use these shapes, some of these curves if you want to make some, squiggly lines or maybe some more complex shapes. But if you want to see all this stuff, please reference the P5JS reference right here. This lets you create user interface, visual effects, write text, very, very important stuff that you probably want to make in any type of game. All right, so on to some actual, perhaps more fun stuff. Now, I'll give you guys a second to kind of play around with P5 Play, or specifically the P5JS text editor. Um, I'll be going through and maybe polishing up the rest of the next section. There's perhaps a new thing I'll actually want to try teaching you guys. We'll see. But yeah, I'll give maybe 4 minutes on this. All right, so seems like my template already had some of the code for this next section, but there's actually wasn't too much. But for this next section, you guys can reutilize the last templates that was in the first section. It's just the same, or you can just delete everything in draw. I actually recommend deleting everything if you just want to see exactly the code you're writing and seeing it on the canvas. But either way, whether you delete everything in draw, for sure that'll keep canvas or also background and fill. Or you can also use a template again. Just add some of this code. Now, specifically, all we're doing is creating a new variable. At the top, in JavaScript specifically, you initialize variables by just using the let keyword. There's no types to worry about. Just do let sprites, and or it can be whatever you want to call it. But name it something that relates to a sprite. Now in this case, this sprite variable starts as nothing, so this sprite means nothing. But we'll be using this for the next section. Creating sprites. There's a term called a sprite is a ghost, but that's what they truly are. They really are just visuals of, pixels on a screen or just some numbers in your program. Video game developers use the word sprites to refer to characters, of course, but they can also be items or anything in the background. It could be a tree, it could be some tool like a pickaxe. There's a game that is very famous for their sprites or pickaxes, and also anything that would want to be represented in terms of like an image, or especially in 8-bit games, they're fundamentally created using sprites. Now, sprites are kind of like textures. As you can see here, we can create a new sprite by using this new variable, this sprite variable we initialized. In our setup function, because of course we should use setup to initialize new things, in this case a sprite. We're setting sprites to equal a new sprite. This is a constructor. And then, specifically in JavaScript, you're able to set the x and y or any other type of member variable directly. There is no object-oriented safety in this language, unless you use classes for real. But in this case, you can just set x and y of the sprites directly with no getter or setter. So you can just use .x to change the x, .y to change the y. Expanding on this, here on the left side we have some nice sprites. You can see their shapes, but of course sprites can be anything. Now in this case, here are some member properties of sprites. Over here we have an x, y position value. Of course, this lets you set the position of said sprite. Moving sprites is probably the most common thing you'll do. Of course, you can manipulate the width or the height, and this can change at any time. If it's a circle specifically, you just want to use d for diameter, and you don't need to use width or height. If you just set the diameter, it will turn it into a circle. In this case, if you want to change the color, on the bottom left, there's ways to change the color. And if you want to rotate, it's just a matter of changing the rotation based on your angle. Now, there's a cool thing where you can actually add text on top of the sprites. Here you can do it like so, it's very easy. And yeah, again, with circles and squares or rectangles, these are very easy ways to create these shapes. And essentially, to add these, you just add them underneath this, of course, setting and initializing those said properties. Well, that's great, but presumably your sprite looks like this boring square. The square is boring. What's better than a boring sprite? Well, glad you asked. What's better than a boring sprite is more sprites that are boring. Um, Here we got a not so boring circle. We got another one, and well, another square. That square is still boring. So essentially, let's just create more sprites to kind of introduce new things and new items into our simulation. Now, in this case, you can create a sprite the same way you've done it before, but if you actually want to create multiple sprites at the same time, we definitely recommend using a for loop. Now, it's essentially the same way you do it in other languages, but Here you can do a for loop, and then you can create a new sprite multiple times. And in this case, it will set that to the same position, and you'll see something very particular. Now what goes in that header is similar to Java or C++. You have the initiator, and then you have the conditional, and then you have your incremental. So this, on the left side, we start at 0, of course. I is our index, meaning, but in this case, index doesn't matter. And that's, of course, we're using an array. Now at the top, you see an array, and of course, in JavaScript, they have a specific way of making an array. It's just with those square brackets. Now, what you notice is the sprite variable we had initially, we're turning it into an array because it doesn't make sense to only just have one sprite variable and then having sprite 2, sprite 3, sprite 4. It's better to just make a list where you can manage and maintain all of your sprites in one container. And then all we have to do is initialize a new sprites and then add this sprites to our array by using this square bracket index and then setting it to this new sprite. Now, what's a cool thing is you may have noticed if you create multiple sprites in the same area, you can see that there's collisions. Whoa, that's pretty good. Specifically in P5 Play, it has a built-in physics engine, which is actually one of the hardest things to implement by yourself. In this case, you have squares, and they're all in the same packed area. You can see on the code on the right side that we're setting them all to the same initial position. But of course, with physics, you can't have things be in the exact same area. So, through collision, they'll push each other away. You can see very naturally how that works. Physics is built in, and you don't have to implement it. Definitely don't implement it. That will take maybe more than a week. In this case, P5 Play gives you a physics engine to work with. So, all the basics with things not moving into each other, things pushing each other out the way, those are already built in, and that's one of the most powerful features of P5 Play. Well, that's cool. But I think you'd agree that they're still kind of boring. These sprites are boring. Let's turn them into this guy. Um, Now, what I want you to do is from the slide deck, you can actually download this guy into your project. You click here, you get this cat astro PNG, and please confirm with me if this download link still works. But you can download this, and you can essentially, I'll see demo-wise right now to see if this asset is still available. There he is. So what you can do with him is you can download him, or however you do this on here. So I'm gonna download that cat, and essentially, there you go. Essentially, heading back to my P5 Play templates. Oh, maybe open it up on here. Essentially, adding an asset is as simple as dragging it in like this. Now your cat's probably in here, and luckily, depending on time, if he is in there already, that's good. Or if you have a new project, then you can just put him in the same root directory where the rest of your code files are. Now in that case, that's pretty easy. Now we need to use him. He's just in a project, but he's not being used anywhere. To introduce assets to your game, in this case, it's an image, you need to use a new mystical preload function. Preload, setup, and draw are the three main functions that P5 Play lets you use. Now, preload happens expectedly before setup. Now, the only thing that should ever go in preload is like loading assets, for example. In this case, we have a sprite image variable, and this lets us hold a reference to the asset. Then, in preload, we can load this image into cache and into memory, and then we can reference this to our assets. And then this asset can then be applied, of course, to a sprite. Now, once you preload this guy, now he's in the memory of the program, and now you can easily add this sprite image to any sprite by just setting the sprite's image property to that reference. So I'll say it again. We created an image, sprite image reference to an asset that we're loading in preload. You put the name of the image. In any case, it will be cat astro. And then in the loop where we're creating multiple sprites, you can then set the image of that sprite and visualize it as this new cat. And then you should be able to get this demo right here, where you have multiple cats rendering. And now all your boring sprites are cats. Now this covers the very last section of our workshop, which is user input. Now this one is very special. This template is different from the rest. If you wanted to introduce user inputs instantaneously, then please reference this template to actually open it up. This one actually has more stuff than the rest. As you can see here, it looks like a playground of stuff. This will be the last section covering user inputs because, of course, your game needs to be playable. If you can't do anything by touching the keys on your keyboard or moving the mouse, then is it really a game? Maybe, maybe not. Now, in this case, we're going to be introducing basic user inputs like keyboard presses. Luckily, P5 Play has this built in. You don't have to make an event listener or anything. All you have to do is put key pressed. This is a function and you just reference and initialize in your code. Key press with a capital P. And then for now, we can reference the key and key code global variables. So these variables aren't anywhere in your code, but these are in the scope of your P5 Play project. Now you can see on the left side, in key pressed, we are console logging. Console logging is the same thing as printing in other languages. And what we are printing is specifically key and key code one after the other. Now, if I go to my project right here, if I accept some cookies real quick, if I head to my console, um, as you can see, if I press some keys with this template code, you should be able to see the key and then the key code. So the key itself is actually the value that this number represents, but specifically in browsers, they use numbers to reference specific keys. And this is for special characters that can't be expressed visually. That includes function 20, that includes the Alt key, that includes the Windows key because there's no Windows like visual icon that you can show in text. And yeah, if I press all these keys, well, also by selecting the actual simulation, you can see all these different characters. As you can see, I have Alt, and that shows Alt, Control, Shift, and all those other keys. Now, a cool thing we can do is receive user inputs. Now, what I want you to do in your demo is under the draw function, if it's not already implemented, is to use the keyboard to move a sprite. Now, in this example, here we have WASD, and actually this should probably be in your demo already, but as you can see, these are conditionals and they're checking if we're holding down a certain key. Now, if it's W, we're gonna move up, but of course remember that up is closer to the origin. So that requires applying a negative value to make the sprite go upwards. And then there's also ASD for the other directions. Depends on the certain plane that you're trying to travel in. And then here are actually some other conditionals you can check. These are also built into P5 Play. Presses is when you press it initially. This is a pressing if you are currently pressing a certain key. In this case, we're using those to make sure as long as we're holding a certain key down that this action happens. Holding is very similar, but that only triggers after holding for a specific amount of time. I believe that is 10 milliseconds. And also this applies only to certain keys that are not supported by pressing. You may have to reference this in your own experimentation. And then of course, when you release a key, that is the last function. So let's say I let go of a key and maybe my visual effect stops showing. Then I can detect that by using the release key. And yes, that was a lot of new concepts, but essentially this was just an icebreaker into what P5 Play is. I don't expect you to know everything about P5 Play just from this workshop, because there's a lot of concepts that will take time to truly understand, especially if you haven't done this type of stuff before. Now, what I do recommend, though, is to have this slide deck open, and then you can actually download some templates. But at that, these are the simple concepts. You want to have visuals, you want to have keyboard inputs, And of course, one of the most important things in game design is when you do something on your input, which is a keyboard press or maybe a click, the game should respond. This is how games like Half-Life, games made by Valve specifically, have their philosophy in good game design, because if there's no certain outputs, then how does the user know that the game is listening to them? You should be in control of the game, and it shouldn't be like ambiguous on whether that's happening. This applies to user experience in general, UX design. Now that's just a small tip, but essentially that kind of concludes this workshop. If you do want to see more stuff about P5 Play, the P5 Play website is actually quite nice. I know at this point you may need actually an account to kind of get started using the documentation. Let me see, P5 Play. Should be this first link. P5JS is not what you're looking for. It's actually P5 Play because it extends upon it. But you can see the many different things that P5 Play can offer in terms of features, mechanics, and whatever. But up here is actually the main section. So sprites, you can see all the sprite details. You can try some stuff. They also have challenges, kind of like what I did in my workshop. And then per each section, they actually have lots of subsections. So honestly, I just probably go through all these pages to kind of see what P5 Play can do for your game. Now that concludes this workshop. If you have any questions, for sure reach out on Discord. I have mostly me and also some guys from last year who are able to help mentor you on this specific library. But JavaScript is one of the best languages you can learn. It is the most popular language in the world, being used by most people for many things, especially web development. So I'd say at some point, if you are a computer science major, definitely learn JavaScript at some point. It's actually one of the more modern languages, and you'll see how many things you can implement with it, whether it's web development, making games like this one, making mobile apps, making server-sided applications, all that good stuff. So yeah, at this point, I don't know. Um, so at this point, I don't know if we have time to host another workshop because this workshop was definitely one of the more grandiose style ones. Um, but in the meantime, here is the demo, of course. And actually, if you head to P5 Play, you can actually see some demos of actual games made with P5 Play. And I actually recommend you try some of them to kind of get some insight. But one of the cool ones is Into the Mines. Now, using those basic features, this game is created entirely by P5 Play. As you can see, fully fledged game. Forgot the controls, but let's see. But this is just a mini 2D platformer using basic assets and, of course, these sprites. You know, simple mechanics like this could be all your game has to be. Simple as this, having a platformer. Of course, the physics is handled for you. All you have to do is, piece by piece, design maps and whatnot. Oh, there I died. But let me see. I think shift is for climbing on walls. But if any of you guys want to try this demo, it's available on the P5 Play. Wow. Save myself. This game is actually pretty fun, and I don't know where the end of it is, so it's kind of a maze. But this is a cool tech demo to see kind of what P5 Play can surmount to in your development. This is great. Damn. Damn, bro. Jesus. All right. We got summer, bro. So I got hops. Let's go. That's great. I swear, there's like stuff to this game I still don't understand because there's like a lot of mechanics, but essentially, if this game kind of looks good for you, then you can kind of see what P5 Play can provide to you. Now, of course, this is one of the more grandiose, again, style games, but they also have other demos which actually are more kind of down to earth. You can take inspiration from all these. Maybe you've seen this game on Twitch at some point, but this one's actually very familiar. Um, Actually, maybe you guys have definitely seen this game before. But yeah, this is like a very simple game you can make. Really, it's just dropping fruits and kind of like trying to get the biggest fruits on screen without getting above the line. Now, fruits get bigger, and also it's kind of like Tetris, where it'll eventually kind of trickle up and up. But just use the games for inspiration. Also, Red Remover is like a traditional kind of Flash type game. If you use Flash, Adobe Flash games before, this is really good. But this guy has also many other programs. So yeah, for the most part, that kind of concludes this workshop. If you had any questions, please reach on Discord. And I will announce at this point for our hackathon participants that are still here, um, you'll be receiving emails probably for reference of resources, how to access cloud-based access, whether it's for Google Cloud or whatever, and also to see kind of what the timeline is updated to be like. Um, Please keep track of Discord, specifically our Discord, because this is where live announcements will go, and we'll be reminding you to submit your projects as time flies by. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But yes, that concludes my workshop. Thank you guys. We play Red Remover. There's number man. Yo, they removed Red Remover. No, it's gone. All right. So yeah, so concluding this ceremony, or also opening day, we have some leftover food. We invite you guys to take some home if you want. I'm pretty sure no one's gonna eat 30 sandwiches or whatever that is over there. Um, and yes, this venue closes at around 6:15, I believe. So we're gonna start cleaning up. But I appreciate you guys coming out today.
Look it up.
Never the best.
This guy's
Never
cold.
the best. Never the best.
Okay, that's gonna be
I wrote that.
Might be.
You tell me what I wrote?
What's the one I I'm not going to check it at some point. Don't worry, bro. I will get in. I have that mindset. If Berkeley doesn't accept me, you know what? You hated Berkeley. I hated both. Stanford and Berkeley. If they reject me,
last year, I just Kobe. I'm hoping because I have to pay $10,000 my own car.
What? I mean, I got a couple.
You said you hate Cal Poly.
Yeah, but I'm going to think about it. I don't know. I'm going to wait for UCLA.
I mean, you're a CS, so you have the privilege of actually like, being able to leave without like, a lot of unlike us engineering.
I got it out. They're getting
True. This last year was kind of
I think you had kids that are they can just do nothing. I mean, I have like
No, you will get higher and get better in the back.
Oh yeah, I want to ask Lance. Do you think Lance made it? He hasn't talked to his Exciting, huh?
Oh yeah. I wasn't sure if it was for sure.
Exciting?
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Fine,
I
you'll
saw
be
the
fine.
email. I thought it was just like basically some random like a scam. I was like, yeah. Yeah.
you know, people management. I mean, I don't want to know it because you're going to tell me. No, I'll tell you. Oh. He's gonna give me a sad face, you know. Instantly, no.
Smile.
punch right bare ball.
I have a class.
When you're my I can tell from eyes.
Come on. Look, I can't.
Whoa! Whoa! Don't put words in my mouth. That's not true. I
Oh my god, they're finally making it. No! You know, GPT made a sprite for me. I was just messing around and it fucking made me a wizard. A whole lot
Sorry
of
about the workshop.
I had animation and I went to CS Club 2 years ago and they were talking about making it. So I'm just like,
I haven't left your workshop earlier because we're making a testing the real chemistry and you need another person new over. Yeah, that's okay. I was just thinking of this question. Your model is ideal, you know. It's exponential. It's ideal.
And the old club
average out, smooth out. It's a dollar to cost average in Japan. Like this is where you're supporting it, and this is where you're expecting it. So if you want, this is what I actually bought some.
You know what? I think another chance of making the cut better. Yeah.
Usually you're gonna get about $50. Twisted mind when you trading. You create a bot shop. No, it's a very simple thing. It's a real
So they would stay.
I'm sure they're working like everything else.
Hey, Tin. Tin. I'm gonna need you to speak. You're on film.
Hello, I like this hackathon. The foods were great. Yay! You happy?
Yeah, really. See, this is the only memory I have.
So much chemistry.
Every single person is watching me.
Thank you. They can see that. Give him the respect that he needs. He took chemistry classes because he's a mechanical engineer, bro. He took so much chemistry classes.
Oh, by the way,
yeah, I'm gonna minor it. Yeah, that's why John.
you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Oh, I got an issue about what?
When did it happen?
What?
When did it happen?
Hey, I don't have connection though. We'll probably make connection. We'll make some strip pulls up first. Wallah, I do get you on
I mean, shit.
I'm about to die. Shoot me your what did this mean?
I wasn't, yeah, but the program I did, like, last year.
Oh my god.
Bye-bye.
Give me a hand.
Are you gonna see my future?
Yeah. Hold me your palm.
Oh, it was so hot, bro. Oh. Here.
That's a hot. Like a magician. That's a hot.
Magician. Oh. Yo, he's reading your palm.
I want to honestly, if it's actually true to put on, it'd be hella funny.
Nah, bro. Nah.
If it's true to put on, it'd be hella funny.
I know.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
and it was so last minute. I should have sent the email the day of.
You're just messing with your mind. You're a fake magician. Yeah, check
Check if you're racist or not.
No, that might have been my fault. You sent me the email.
Yo, he's reading your atoms, bro. Molecules. Oh. Yo, he's reading your DNA.
So once I saw it, it was like a professional. Like, the guy.
What the hell?
And then I finally replied this morning of, and that's the same morning he sent the email. And he was like,
What do you say?
Join this. So I was like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm kind of scared because I feel like that's how it is.
Is that a good future?
You probably haven't.
Yeah, very last minute. But at least we'll be able to work from home.
Yes.
I'm not trying to work from home.
The hell you mean I'm clear? You're gonna kill me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait. Once you get this.
Yeah, but it's not technical. It's our yeah.
So serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of hard. So that's
But
pretty
it's all
hard.
thanks to that program that I did. It's a nonprofit. I've been working in a nonprofit for like 6 years. Yeah, because I don't have a traditional backpack. I didn't know.
Uniqlo.
Some One Piece.
What?
So,
I mean,
yeah.
the only thing I know about Uniqlo, when I went to Uniqlo, I went for one time. I only saw like,
There's always manga and anime stuff there.
I'll check it out.
Like,
I go to the mall again. Probably in the next couple of years. I go to the mall every once a year or so.
What?
Blinded.
What does it say? What does it say, Michael? What does it say?
What does it say?
I didn't know we Oh, he's reading your DNA. Your DNA string, he's manipulating it.
Claro, yo consigo de viaje. Algo que Yo,
Is it unknown for both?
No, I want to say Hey, what do you mean? That's a W.
What about San Diego? What happened to it?
I don't know, maybe I think waitlist. I don't even know if that's possible for a transfer.
Nah, bro. Just check. You can check. You can check right now. Look, what? Oh, who got on their phone? I know what this is. Oh, that's a giant.
What? Hey,
Nah, don't take your phone, bro.
Oh, that's your phone.
Giving inspiration.
give me my phone back. No need to make
No.
You could have gone the other way.
Yeah. Yo, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Give me your
I
hand.
gave it to Sam.
I betrayed you.
Wait.
No, it's not still.
No.
Let me see.
No.
If this is
Try to
right,
read my DNA strings? You trying to steal my DNA
if I get
data?
this right, I mean, if I get one of the two right, I'll be
How about this?
I'll laugh.
Only if he checks. Only if he checks and one of your predictions got right.
Are you serious?
Hey, if you check right now and the prediction is right,
One. Only one.
only one.
Wait, so check one. How many check one? Only one.
Not check anything.
It just came out.
He doesn't want to check.
I know it came out, but I'm not checking. Bro, they really want to check, bro.
Bro,
I wanna see.
Why are you forcing us to check, bro?
No, I checked his palm. He checked his palm.
He checked his palm, you know?
Wait, is he going home? Why are you taking? Why are you taking your bag? Man?
Hey, we got
Going home? Going home?
No, I have my computer there. No, I just took my bag.
They're gonna check it. That's all. I don't want to.
Let me read my fingerprints.
Give me palm.
What do you want?
He'll be able to tell
The
you.
one that you used to jerk off with, or which hand do you
Alright,
want?
bro.
Which hand do you want? I go hands free.
I'll be impressed.
I go up here. Exactly.
What are you gonna do? Like this?
Put your hand. No, that's not black. That's cold. Not black. Put your hand up. Close that.
He's reading your app.
This is Korean wisdom, bro.
Yeah.
Yo! Hey, how's that this on? Hold the mesh was good test, 40 chest. Oh, bro, it's actually my phone. Oh,
There's a disease that does that. You know that, right?
The misprinted.
You got in, right?
Yo!
This dude, bro. This dude. Bro, we got it.
No, but seriously, we've already looked at astrology.
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
The astrology for Berkeley.
What?
No idea which means.
I'll be honest,
No.
I've never heard of this in my life.
Astrology?
Yeah. Any
We're crazy.
Yeah, we're talking about, I want to talk about I want to see.
No, but what if you're right?
Okay, here's my theory. I read it. Yes and yes. Yes and wait.
I don't know what that means, bro.
Oh, did you check with Berkeley or you San Diego?
Oh.
Yeah, he checked with Buddy. How do you do that? How do you do that?
Yes,
Mystical wisdom, bro. Spiritual shit, bro.
Oh, he's a missions officer, bro. He knows.
No, you're the one that
Oh, did me? No. But you know what's funny? I do know I'm an officer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the fine. My friends were admission officers and they would be.
You bribe mission officers?
Okay, well, okay. What about now when there's no blood?
That's right.
You're dead.
Let me see if it's the same.
Wait, hold on.
Slow drive and punch your hand.
Nah, go small.
Look, you just love my hand.
There's no more?
There's no more, bro. Are there no more ice?
You know, some girl took 3 steps.
No. There's a lot, yeah.
Lynn,
You're so saying
Lynn, some girl took 3 sandwiches from left.
Oh, my freezing. I'm up now, bro.
Oh, it's Berkeley? Yes.
I get
Sam, let me see.
No.
Let me see.
Ask Lance.
right for
Lance.
you, I'll be impressed.
Can you hack into the
Did you
I got yes and yes for both. I'm gonna play you.
Lynn,
I'm gonna play you. I'm gonna hunt you down, Michael.
Oh my god, if Michael's right and we both get into Berkeley, that'd be fucking nuts, bro.
That'll be crazy.
That'd be fucking nuts.
I think you got it.
I will hunt you down.
No! We're gonna personally hire Michael, bro.
Curse you on your generation.
Lance gone to Brooklyn. He gone to Brooklyn.
Yeah, who can that?
He likes it. He likes it. No, I was lying. He never
likes
told
a
me.
lot.
He never told me.
These
I
are
don't laugh at the
these are the type of people that you gotta watch out.
When you get attacked.
It's good to get them going.
When you on
Oh,
check.
my head. Oh, I'll take your Asim's wisdom from now on.
Oh, should we end the stream?
Yes.
Bro, we've been talking this whole time.
Guys!
Thank you everyone for everything.
I was gonna say,